right, ladies and gentlemen, the day of reckoning is come. The day of reckoning is come. Psalm 78 says, therefore the Lord heard this and was angry. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger came up against Israel, because they did not believe in God, nor trusted in his salvation, though he rained down manna upon them to eat. Man did eat angels' food, and he sent them meat to the full, but they did not believe, and therefore he was angry. See, when you take things for granted, feel a sense of entitlement, you can become a spoiled brat. And you can also be a destructive force. So the lesson here today is, don't be a destructive force. Be something positive and constructive out there. That's the moral of the story. Let's get into it. The day of reckoning has come. I told you stop running your mouth, but you wouldn't listen. But first, before I go into the negativity, let's get to the positivity. I want to just totally and completely applaud the following people. Bryan Adams. Positive guy. That's what we need with the DCEU. Some more positive people out there. Damian Anton Vincent. You like people clowning people. That's what's up. Alright. Shout out to you anyway. Then I got J. Half Valentin. Shout out to you, my brother. And Dave Ethan. I just want to give special shout outs to these guys because they're cool and they're always trying to be positive. And we in the DCU try to be positive, but in this case, I got to stand up to the bullies out there. I got to stand up to the Goliaths out there. See, the system's against the DCEU. All I hear is negative things about the DCEU headed by Warner Brothers. And if you attack Warner Brothers in terms of comic book movies, you're attacking the DCEU. Because without them, we wouldn't have gotten any of these DCEU movies the way how we got them. If there's another owner, the movies will not come out the same way how they were. So you attack Warner Brothers, you're really attacking the DCEU too. And yes, Warner Brothers has done some really stupid things in the past. Hopefully they're learning from their mistakes. But still, because of them, we got the DCU. You can't attack the people who are giving you the comic book movies. And Warner Brothers has had a long history of giving you comic book movies. From the very first Superman movie to now. So why are you attacking them? And once again, let me make it abundantly clear that all of these comic book movies, we live in a time where we can get multiple comic book movies every year. We are living in a really great time. Fantastic time. The golden age of comic book movies. So why is it that some people really feel they must express their hate or negativity towards a certain group? You got like 8 or 9 movies every year. So why can't you just watch the movies you like and focus on that? Why you have to bash unnecessary because WB and DC, the DCEU is something to bash upon? Hell no. I will not let the bully beat me. And I will not let any of y'all be instruments of that because it's been unfair in many ways with the DCEU. So that's why I'm responding to the negative one of you guys now. Alright? Let's start. So first off, we got Batmania Returns. I called him a Marvel tard. He doesn't like it. But the first response he had to my video was cringe. Yeah. Cringe. So all I said was, leave the DCU alone, and I'll leave the MCU alone. Alright? And he started to carry on. He had no substance whatsoever. He's trying to describe my physical anatomy and go in on me. And, how he was just expressing his view on Thor Ragnarok and so on. I'm just listening. And so they're going in on me because I'm going in on the Marvel property. They're very defensive. So you find that these Marvel people pop out of nowhere and they say, oh, I like Marvel and DC, but they pop out of nowhere when it's attacking Marvel. I never mentioned his name in my video. I'm now mentioning it now because you come out the woodwork and your butt hurt. He said this. The video won't make me butthurt. Lol. Sure, I'm excited for Infinity War. You expose yourself. Batmania Returns. Where do you come from, Batmania Returns? Let's just see. Where did you come from? Because I got a file on you. Woo! Batmania Returns. First contacted me about a year ago. He said, Andrew C. Denner, a.k.a. Future DC Comics Zone, just made a video attacking you. And he goes on. Well, dude, he attacks people for having different opinions. If they like Nolan Batman films or MCU movies. So I'm going to infer here that you defend Nolan Batman movies. And you've probably been labeled a Nolanite by Andrew. And you also defend the MCU like you're doing now. Because you just pop out of nowhere. Like Batmania Returns just pop out of nowhere. Boom! To my video and he cringed. See, how I see it is, while Andrea Cedeno is a very extreme DC fanboy, he has to be attracting people who don't like the DCEU because of the things he says. And while Andrea Cedeno is an extreme DC fanboy and he does bash Marvel fans, even those who are not Marvel-tards, and Nolan fans, even those who are not Nolanites, he does get under the skin of a lot of you. So when you realize that Andrew said something bad about me, came straight across my channel, because you was expecting me to go up against Andrew. But I told you I don't care. I'm not doing that. And then you tried to get dirt and spread as much dirt about Andrew to me, telling me you're characteristic. You're nothing. You're a dirty, ugly, nasty kind of person. Because you like to make strife among DC fans. You never heard me say anything bad about Andrea Cedeno. But you come with dirt to me to show how much Andrea Cedeno is a dirty person. That's just dirty. And so that's the person you are, man. So when you start to go off on a tangent because I just hit some facts. I drop facts. And you know Andre knows his DC stuff. You can say what you want about Andre. Andre likes everything DC. I'm not exactly like that. He knows his DC stuff. And that's what you guys don't like. You popped up on my channel only for that reason. And here's the other funny thing about you. See, we do our homework. We do our homework, baby. We keep it proper. That's when you first came up on my channel to make strife with Andre. And I didn't make no strife with Andre. None. And you vexed about that, maybe. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you wondering why these DC fans ain't fighting among themselves. But here's something else that's really interesting that you said. You said, yes, I'm a fan of DC. I read comics and watch the animated films and animated shows, play games, and still, despite not being a fan of the DCU, you said you're not a fan of the DCU. Surprise, surprise. Defends Nolan movies. Defends the MCU. I'm just building up a file on you here. And is not a fan of the DCU. You are only, every time you talk, you give me more information about you. You said the CGI for Stephen looks like shit. You haven't exactly got high standards when it comes to knowing what a good movie is, so it's not a surprise you defend the crappy CGI in this film. You went on to say this. I thought both movies had terrible CGI. I would take Thor Ragnarok CGI over Justice League CGI. Of course you would. Of course you would. You gonna on Andre Sedeno's channel fighting him down. You don't like Andre Sedeno, obviously. You say he's a terrible person. You don't like him. You know why? Because when you roll up on his channel, you started defending Nolan, and you started defending MCU movies on a man's DC channel, and you started trashing the DC movies that he's talking about, especially the DCEU movies, because you're not a fan. Batmania Returns. Found out. That's why I called you a Marvel tard. Because you're not a real DC fan. But hey, I heard you say somewhere in the comment section, I'm not going to go into it right now. You said Nolan is not my favorite Batman. In fact, I can find that right now. You said Nolan's not even my favorite Batman. I think you said it right here. You called me a Nolanite many times. Nolan Batman is not even my favorite interpretation of the Batman character. My favorite is Frank Miller's Batman. Holy shit. Did you really say that? Your favorite Batman is Frank Miller's Batman? Alright. So I'm assuming The Dark Knight Returns is your favorite, is one of your favorite Batman comics. That's an Elseworld comic. Here's the funny thing, brother. I think I heard you say something else somewhere down here. You said, where is it? Yeah, it should be somewhere here. You said, I'm personally not the biggest fan of the DCU. I liked Man of Steel, though, and I like Ben Affleck's performance as Batman. I have a lot of problems with Zack Snyder's vision for the DCEU. You said you liked Man of Steel. And you said you like Ben Affleck's performance as Batman. So how could you like Man of Steel, like Ben Affleck's performance as Batman, and have problems with Zack Snyder's vision? You contradict yourself. If you like Zack Snyder's vision, you would like Man of Steel. If you like Man of Steel, you would like Zack Snyder's vision. How you could like Man of Steel and not like Zack Snyder's vision? But here's the thing that really conflicts. If you know anything about Frank Miller, at least the Elseworld comic I'm talking about, The Dark Knight Returns, you know that The Dark Knight Returns gives just some of what Batman is. Frank Miller's explanation of Batman. Frank Miller gave a complete picture of what Batman is in that Elseworld comic. And only The Dark Knight Returns only gave some of it. Because you allege you never heard me talk about comics, so you're assuming that I don't know about comic books. Well, here's my question to you, Batmania Returns, who so far has been very hypocritical, if I may say so myself. You seem to defend Marvel a lot, which is why you're even responding in this video. And you seem apparently to castigate DC a lot, just from your statements. And apparently you want to also character assassinate a guy who's a big DC fan, all right? Because you don't agree with what he says, and you try to defend the MCU and Nolan's movies. And he personally does not like the MCU, and he doesn't like Nolan's movies, obviously. I don't even know why you came up on his page. And the only reason you could come up on his page is because you're annoyed by what he's saying. Like exactly what I'm saying right now, which you know is true. And it annoys you. So even though you call yourself Batmania Returns, and you got a Batman symbol there, and you say Frank Miller's Batman is your Batman, I'm assuming that is the Dark Knight Returns Elseworld comic. I'm assuming that. Then it means you should, and you say you like Man of Steel, and you say you like Ben Affleck's performance as Batman, then you should like Zack Snyder's vision. Because Frank Miller gives the complete Elseworld comic Batman, but it's not complete in The Dark Knight Returns. So, unless you have read the rest of that Elseworld comic series, you cannot get a complete picture of the Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. You do understand that The Dark Knight Returns is a part of a comic book series. You do understand that. A trilogy. Maybe this is something new to you. So, if I were you, and you're telling me you have a problem with Zack Snyder's vision, I think you should first of all read that trilogy before you comment further. As for trashing Justice League, I suggest you go read that trilogy before you come back. Because I don't know a whole bunch of comic books. I'm not even going to try and testify to that. I got back into comic books a lot later on in my life. But I can tell you this. For all the so-called DC comics you have, you do not understand Frank Miller's Batman from that Elseworld comic. If you did, then you would understand Zack Snyder is going to the T. And in fact, Zack Snyder is dialing off of that Batman. That Batman is more intense. If you've read Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns and then you read the rest of his trilogy, you would realize how wacky and extreme it is. Have you ever read an Aquaman comic? Particularly the Aquaman comics from the 90s. I would suggest you pick up one. It's crazy as hell. Psychedelic like crazy. A little bit on the wacky side sometimes. Not funny wacky. Just weird wacky. Okay? So, when you talk about comic books and you talk about me reading comic books, I suggest you read a couple of them. One of them is the Dark Knight trilogy. And no, that's not Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Frank Miller's. Okay? And what I'm going to tell you is, so that you don't expose yourself further, I would say shut your mouth when you're on my channel and just watch what's going on. Watch what's going on. Because the more you talk is the more you expose yourself. You expose yourself by talking a little bit more. You said a whole set of shit you shouldn't have said. Besides throwing names at me, you tell me you excited for Infinity War. So obviously that triggered you. You came on my channel and everybody knows it now. It's out in the open. Everybody knows you only responded to this video and you only pop up on my channel when I say something against the MCU that offends you. Then you suddenly go berserko. You expose your Marvel-tard nature. You expose yourself. I know you're a Marvel-tard. Maybe you don't know it and you haven't come out the cupboard yet. You're Marvel-tard, brother. But it's interesting that you say you're excited for Infinity War. Oh, I know I took some steam out of that. I'm sorry about that. Am I really? No, I'm not. Then we have another dude. This guy is a straight up Marvel fan. So, you're gonna love Infinity War. Yeah, Thanos with his dick on his head, slamming it up your ass. Oh yeah, you're gonna love that. So you say, so anyone who dares to touch your precious DCU, apparently anyone who touches your precious MCU gets you triggered. So you have to speak. So anyone who dares to touch your precious DCU and criticizes them is a Marvel fanboy. You do realize what you're doing is pure toxic fanboy shit, right? And good luck trying to suck the life out of Infinity War. I'm sure Marvel is crying over spilled milk from a random butthurt DC fanboy who can't take criticism. I know you are. That's why you're talking. BTU, how is that Just Shit League failure to you? Oh, it's just fine, man. It's just fine. I know you looking forward to Thanos' penis so that you can have it rammed up your ass, because that's what you're gonna get fucked. You're gonna get fucked over by it. 20 movies. 20 movies to see this shit. But I got more for you guys. Hey, talking about that, this is the same dude that said this. Hey man, can you do videos about if some DC movies are actually getting made? So many sites are not trustable. Like, is Superman movie sequel happening along with Gotham City Sirens? Then you come back and you say, after Woman of I got some big hope for the DCU, but then again, there are false clickbait rumors that just damage everything. I only believe objective news, not clickbait. That's why I came to you. Apparently, I give objective news. That was 9 months ago. Apparently not anymore. Hey, here's the other joke, because it gets funnier and funnier as we go on. For the past couple of months, I'm actually a non-superhero movie fan, which is ironic because I love characters so much and read their comics constantly, because their quality, in my opinion, had been dropping or just generic. Thankfully, Logan and Wonder Woman brought back my love for superhero movies. And don't worry, I'm also not a person who insults others if they love the DCU too. Yo, I got a file on all of y'all ninjas. You look like a big fat hypocrite right now, ninja. Big fat hypocrite. Because when I pressed that button, it triggered your nerve. And you could not, you had to go into panicky Marvel Tard status. All the so-called balanced nature that you had, befriending me and everything, talking about how I tell the truth and everything, it went out the window when I said, and I know it's stuck in your head, that Thanos' head looked like a penis. Now you've seen a penis head all the time. Sorry, buddy. But next time, try to be, just move on. Don't talk. You just exposed yourself. You just exposed yourself. You should just stay quiet, man. Just observe. Because all you giving me is data. Data, baby. That's why I told you guys to shut up and move on. It's not that big a deal. All you got to do is shut up. I'll stop. I'll stop. Just don't respond. I won't say anything bad about the MCU. But you had to say something bad about the DCU. Well, that's why you right now on blast. Stephen Walters. You disappoint me, man. When you first met me, let me just show you guys this. Stephen Walters was talking something that was really cool. I showed people the picture of Justice League, and it was kind of obvious, but nonetheless, I showed them with the man in the brown coat and the man in the brown coat in different situations. I slowed it down, so Cyborg was shooting at Steppenwolf and stuff. And so he said the man in the brown coat, the same man in the brown coat from 20 seconds into the trailer when the parademon emerges from the mother box in his house. It appears that Cyborg is in that man's house in that shot, with the bar and countertop looking similar. I assume this is the same man we saw create Cyborg with the mother box in BVS. And I told him, yeah, man, that's Solid Stone. It wasn't a bar, actually. It was, it was the bar with the countertop. That's correct. So Solid Stone. I was just giving him clues and hints and stuff. You disappoint me from then on in, man. You've been a complete, well, it is what it is. So, after that, I'm gonna deal with, first of all, his statement. Let me deal with his statement first, because let me deal with these guys first. Oh my God. I feel so bad for these guys at the same time. He says this. Obviously, he's butthurt. This is honestly a hilariously stupid way of thinking. That's a response to me saying that Thanos' head looks like a penis, which he cannot get out of his mind, obviously. No one was hating on Warcraft or Transformers exclusively because of their character design. Actually, they were hating on them for their character design. Their appearance, they were hating on their appearance. They were hating on the development of the characters. Some of the characters, they thought the humor that they used was off. Or because they had things falling from the sky. They criticized them because they had bad writing and direction with no worthy story or character elements to go with the design. Again, no character development and no good story writing. That's basically the points you're making. Nobody would care about Transformers being full of action if it only had a good story with well-developed characters driving the action. Okay. The quality of VFX or costume design is not the only thing, is not only or even the first measure of quality for a film. No, it's not the only measure, and it's not necessarily the first measure, but it's a big deal in the quality of a film. If you got shit graphics that nobody could hardly see anything, but you have a story that's pretty good, nobody gonna see the story because of your shit graphics. Remember, this audio-visual medium, sometimes even tactile. So you gotta come good. So yes, the costume design is important. Yes, the quality of VFX is important. Yes, the scenery is important. It's a movie. That's the difference between movie and film. The amount of cameras you have, the camera angles, the cameras you use for depicting the expression for the characters in the film. These are all very important things. All right, the plot is important, yes, and that's where good story writing happens. Good and bad writing are different things, and of course, how you cut the movie also determines how it comes across, and then of course, character development. All right, so when you say character design, you really mean costume design, I assume, not character design. Character design has to do with the story arc of the character, how they behave, their personality, that kind of thing is character design. Okay, but anyway. People criticize DC movies because they are poorly written and edited. Okay. If Justice League had been a well-made film with better writing and clearer editing than people like, the fact that Steppenwolf looked like a gray testicle would have been a footnote. Mm-hmm. Thanos looks like a penis, but that's irrelevant to the actual quality of the story and film overall. All right. I'm going to go with what you say, your words. You said that Steppenwolf looks like a gray testicle. I'm going to go with that. I prefer a gray testicle that won't fuck me in the ass than a penis head that's purple. I'm just going to say it. Some people be cracking up right now. Secondly, you say this, that the DCEU movies, particularly Justice League, so we're talking about Justice League particularly, did not have good story writing, did not have good editing. We will see. Because the thing about me is I'm a data collector. So we will see. We will see. All right? The next thing you say is that Thanos, people find Thanos menacing because he has been teased and built up for 20 movies. And all I got to say to you is this. If you are built up for 20 movies, then you damn well must look menacing. Because people are going to pick you apart because you are the long anticipated character, the great antagonist. So you must look imposing. I'm telling you, dildo head don't look imposing. And if you like to be raped in the ass by Marvel, so be it. Because apparently you're excited to be fucked in the ass. Because that's all you're going to get. I loved Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. But they are all needing some major changes, at least at nearly every stage, in order to be considered good movies. We'll see. Remember, I'm testing everything you say. It's all data. I'm just processing your data. That's what I'm doing. Now, you said you love Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. Let me just say it one more time. You said you love Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. That's what you said. You said that. I didn't say it. Okay? And then you repeated it 2 hours later. You said, here's the thing, dude. I love Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. You said that. 6 months before, you said there's nothing inherently cheesier about Power Rangers than Justice League. A man in a bat suit, a woman with bright red and gold armor and a glowing whip, a man who can talk to fish, an alien with bright red and blue suit with his own logo on his chest. Cheesy as fuck. All superheroes are over the top and cheesy as fuck. That's the way they should be. There's literally a Power Rangers Justice League crossover comics right now. JL isn't somehow superior or more high art than Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Also, the 2017 Power Rangers movie was amazing. I'd be happy if Justice League was able to be half as good as Power Rangers. Yeah, man, you love Justice League. You love Justice League, brother. Aggressive Negotiator says, love, Aquaman don't talk to fish. Read comics, bro. Yeah, man, you really love Justice League. Yes, that's your first statement, man. Your first statement on my video. You defend Mighty Morphin Power Rangers over Justice League. You love Justice League, my friend. You're a liar. Everybody knows that now. What else you got to say about the DCEU? What else you got to say? I get a little annoyed when people say that Patty Jenkins was the first female director to helm over a $100 million budget. Obviously, there were so few that allowed the opportunity. We need more women digging. Ava DuVernay being the first black woman to direct a 100+ movie with Wrinkle in Time is pretty huge. Actually, it came out. It came out. A Wrinkle in Time, but she wasn't before. She wasn't before Patty Jenkins. What the fuck are you saying, man? Lana and Lily Wachowski. Oh, the Wachowski brothers have directed 5 movies with massive budgets to date. It's a simple thing that most people in news makers fail to mention. Oh, okay. So you are trying to be a know-it-all wise ass. I get it. I get it. They were the Wachowski brothers. They don't count. They're not the Wachowski sisters, but they were the Wachowski brothers. So that don't count. Let's see what else you said here. What the fuck is wrong with you? Thin does not equal healthy. Promoting the idea of think thin is alongside the first female superhero is a bad idea. Oh, so you gonna bash Wonder Woman. You gonna join with the bash crew. Think Thin? Think Thin's a product, man. Everybody be eating Think Thin. Even fat people eat Think Thin. So she can't use Think Thin now? They really should have thought this brand promotion before putting it on a movie that they are so strongly advertising as feminist. Jesus Christ, man. Stephen Walters. You crazy as hell, man. You crazy as hell. So, that's Stephen Walters, man. Stephen Walters. The man who says he loves he loves Justice League, but he thinks Power Rangers was an amazing movie and Justice League is not even half as good as that movie. That's what he said. Man, if you love Justice League, Stephen Walters or Waters, whatever the fuck your name is, then I could just imagine how much you love Man of Steel and BVS. If you love Justice League, we don't need haters. We just don't need them. We don't need haters, man. Y'all are such hypocrites. That's the problem with y'all. Let me just go into one thing here. A plot. There are two types of plots. There is the traditional ballad plot. And then there's the complex interwoven plot. Comic book movies generally have the traditional ballad. In fact, Disney makes a point with the MCU to have traditional ballad movies. They flow in a linear fashion, that's it. However, interwoven movies, okay, movies where different plots are interwoven with each other are called imbroglio plots. They're a little bit more complex, a little bit more mature. So, a lot of times when you guys say that the writing is poor and the editing seems to be all over the place, you're really talking about an imbroglio plot that you've never seen so much in superhero movies. A movie like Unbreakable uses the imbroglio plot some. Goes from one character to the next, sometimes interwoven with different characters. We have a lot of great movies out there which have interwoven plots. And what's funny to me is network television has a lot of scenes. If you've watched soap operas, they have imbroglio plots. If you've watched some of the CW TV shows, they have imbroglio plots where you go from one character to the next, to the next, to the next. You're not really following any specific character because all of these things are simultaneously happening. So, Batman v Superman had an imbroglio plot on a whole other level. Like, it was premiere kind of stuff. I'm talking about the theatrical cut. And so, the movie was a bit quick. It was a bit quick moving from one thing to the next. And you had to process. But, again, it's something you would more see in movies outside of the genre of superhero films. And so what Zack Snyder did was he challenged people to think of a superhero film like a normal, elaborate film. He took a mature approach to superhero films in Batman v Superman. So that's what you're seeing, Mr. Stephen Walters. But, Mr. Stephen Walters, I've taken every single word you said and I've processed it. Because you're talking about the plot and story of the MCU. You're saying the plot and story and the edits, they have been a higher standard. Plot, story, characters, alright? Edits. And these have been higher standard than the DCU movies. That's what you're basically saying. The DCU movies had poor standards and stuff. David Brown comes in. He says both cinematic universes have their problem, but the main problem with DCU is it's rushed. And non-audiences are not going to understand all those Easter eggs in this movie. You need to introduce these characters right. Stop relying on the fans. That's not enough. The MCU took their time. It's about to pay off soon. Hell, the CW shows is better than the DCU. Well, first of all, David Brown's a DCU hater, and he's an MCU fan, to be honest with you. So he would agree with Stephen Walters, who has already proven himself to be dishonest. He would agree with Tawana High, who is also dishonest and is a Marvel fan. And all of these guys got ticked off by stuff. He said if Zack Snyder loved Superman, this a month ago, so much, why did he kill him off? Right, because it's part of his arc. That's just stupid. So he constantly gives hate to the DCU. And he goes on. This argument is ridiculous. That is my response to Batman v Superman. And he says, I love both DC, but I don't like BVS or Suicide Squad. For Marvel, I don't like Iron Man 2, 3, and Thor 2. While the DCU characters are not developed at all, they're either mopey, depressed, out of character, even to comic book fans. I hate bad Superman and Batman were treated in this movie. I hate how bad they were. So he's only had negative things to say. So that my comment was always about these kinds of guys who are pro, obviously, Marvel, which is why he is so annoyed. And he goes on to try and trash Justice League, speaking about all kinds of negative things about it. Now, the first thing he says, which is really dumb, is that why did we have to wait till the 5th DC movie for Superman to act like Superman? David Brown. Why did we have to wait after 20 movies to see a dildo head Thanos? Why? Why can't they get the CG on point? Why can't they get Thanos' head to look proper? Like Thanos of the comic books. Why he looking like a dildo head? Why? I'm just asking. Because you throw it to the DC, you hate on the DCEU, I can do the same. I can hate on the MCU. Then we got Truth and Justice. Truth and Justice is a DC fan. But my problem with Truth and Justice, I said lay off of attacking the DCEU. Lay off of attacking WB. Just lay off of it. We're going to get the Snyder Cut. That will be made right, and then WB move on. Move on. No, you don't want to listen. So, Truth and Justice, I'm going to expose your ass now. First of all, Truth and Justice did not know that it was a prequel comic to Man of Steel. So when I was talking about the real future of the DCU and I talked about Kara L coming out of the pod, Truth and Justice contested me. He said the open part doesn't indicate anything about Kara. You're a DCU fan. You profess to know Snyder's stuff. And you don't know there was a prequel comic for that? Truth and Justice my ass, man. Truth and Justice my ass. You pushing for a Snyder cut and you don't even know what Snyder did in his movies? Exposed. Truth and Justice. I could go more into you, but time, man, time. Then we got Den Enterprises. Den Enterprises decided to throw shade. I warned Den Enterprises. I said, look, man. Just don't talk. He started going on about JL, and I'm like, just shut up, man. Just shut up. Then he comes back and he says, I mean, he doesn't like Thor Ragnarok, so that's cool. But I really don't want to do this to you, brother, but you come and throw shade my way. You come and throw shade my way. Why? Why, Ninja? Why? Why Den Enterprises? So Den Enterprises jumps onto this comment right here with Truth and Justice. He says, Truth and Justice, exactly. You can't sit back and accept this Justice League as the conclusion to Zack's story that he started with Man of Steel. We must keep it till we get the Snyder Cut. And then and only then we can have the DCEU flourish. So you so passionate. Justice League is shortchanged by Joss Whedon, right? Then Den Enterprises? Den Enterprises, man. Den Enterprises. And I'm going to have to pull your file. You all up in arms about Justice League and Ninja. No. Ninja, this is you. You gaping at dildo head Thanos. You in love with penis head Thanos. You a Marvel fanboy. Then Enterprises, I had to pull the file on you. Because you wouldn't let it go. I told you, let it go. Let it go. But you all invested in the DCU, but you embracing this shit? Joss Whedon sell it short. Joss Whedon's the guy that started this shit you looking at here. The Avengers movie. It's Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is the one that introduced Thanos. How you can be bashing Joss Whedon on one end and you cool with this? How you gonna make that make sense, homie? Y'all never learn. I said shut your mouth. I said shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. I'll get your file. I'll run your file for everybody to see. Expose you. Robo Legends. Robo Legend says, so I can't say I think Justice League is bad or I'm a fanboy. You say whatever you want. Just remember, when you say whatever you say, I'll respond in kind. I respect the DCU, but you cherry picking, and Civil War is far superior to Justice League. Funny you say Civil War, actually. Actually, a number of y'all talked about Civil War being a better movie than Justice League. And that's interesting. And you even defend that. So, since a couple of y'all actually said that Civil War is a better movie than Justice League, I said, you know what, let me do some homework on that. Let me do some homework on that. Because even Stephen Waters or Waiters or whatever your name is, or Water, you were referring to, or not you, but somebody else was referring to Civil War. A couple of y'all referred to Civil War in their responses. So first of all, let me let all of y'all know. Wrong answer. Yeah, we know this is what is really going on with y'all guys. You're in denial. All of y'all that have been talking, you had to respond because you're excited for Infinity War. Right? Stephen Waters actually said he was excited for Infinity War, and I can stop him from being excited for Infinity War because he's seeing Thanos' head as a penis. But here's this. You know another film that's coming out? Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's coming out. And it's a little meme on Captain Marvel. I didn't make it. I didn't make this meme. But it's out there. And it says, if Disney was going for dry white toast in biker letters, they nailed it. You know, dry white toast on biker uniform. You know what's funny, though? When you look at almost all of the MCU characters, almost all of them, they got that same freaking outfit. What's up with them? All of them got the same leather biker padded looking thing. You think I'm joking? Watch this. Boom. Ant-Man got the same kind of padded biker looking stuff. Leather. Look at that. Look at that. You think I'm joking? Watch this. Watch this. Same. Slight variations, but the same leathery biker thing. Look, even Thor and Loki got it. What's up with that? She got a little variation. You know, she got a little blouse thing going on, but again, leather. This remind me even of the Matrix. Remind me Naomi of the Matrix was wearing this leather stuff. What's up with that? Everybody here. In fact, she looked like she could have passed for Scarlet Witch. She could pass for her. See? Same kind of outfit. What's up with that? Leather everywhere. Well, they want to be bikers? Leather everywhere. Even the raccoon ain't got leather. What's up with that? Leather everywhere. What's up with that, folks? Now, X-Men. I think X-Men was the second set of group of people to come out. But they would actually had a uniform. This is like a uniform here, right? So, as the X-Men, they moved like that. But I don't get this. What's up with that? it's not like the Avengers has a uniform. They don't. So why is the costume design so generic? Look how generic that is and formulaic that is. That's sad. I mean, okay, him and Falcon would have the same thing because they kind of running buddies. Iron Man, I'll come back to this. Iron Man and hold on. Oh God, this is just way too hilarious. I'm trying to find it. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's somewhere at the end here. Oh, okay. Hey, it's somewhere around though. It's somewhere around. I'm gonna find it. Oh, here it is. You know, Iron Man and I forgot what his name is. Ah, shit, it just slipped my mind. But those two, something Patriot, they would have the same kind of uniform, right? That goes without saying. But what's up with the generic stuff other than that? This dude have the same generic stuff. This. I mean, it's generic as hell, man. What's up with that? I mean, it's really generic. Like, let me show you this. The CW got the same kind of outfit as Black Widow. Black Widow. What's up with the leather, man? I'm just saying. Look, this and this, you can't tell it apart. Like TV, man. That's messed up. That's messed up. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. It's substandard stuff. That's not movie. That's not cinematic. In fact, there are a number of articles out there that saying they're using a TV approach to what should be a cinematic feature. They're not even going with cinematic film anymore. So everything kind of the standard falls in your viewership. See what I'm saying? Now remember, Steven and some other guy, I can't remember who their name was, said that they thought the CW. First of all, the guy was saying the MCU movies are a better standard than Justice League. It's the storytelling, he said, and the character design or character development. Another guy said the CW and this, they better than the DCEU so far. That's what he said. So let's look at it, man. Let's look at it. Alright, TV. That's so messed up. That is really messed up, folks. And this is the X-Men. Now, the X-Men look more cinematic. This is Days of Future Past. And you can see this is similar leather kind of ironish thing. But then again, everybody not wearing the same stuff. Okay, Xavier's doing it. He's doing it. But Magneto got his own thing going on. There's some leather here. You know, he got variation in outfits. You know what I mean? Hancock got this shit. That's messed up. When you are dressing up like Hancock, I mean, to be honest with you, Hancock has better storytelling than Captain America Civil War. Since you guys seem to put Captain America Civil War on a pedestal, that's what I'll deal with. But Hancock got better storytelling than Captain America Civil War. I'm going to tell you why. As much as it's a comedy and everything, he got a character arc that starts off with him being sort of don't care. He's still helping people, but he just doesn't care. To caring and being a responsible hero. So he goes 180 degrees. Plus, he sacrifices his life and sacrifices himself for the woman he loves and his child. His wife, was wife once, and his child. Okay? And they're not from this world. He's not from this world. It's kind of like Superman's story in a way. But he forgot who he was. And so as the character develops in the story, you learn with the character and you go along with it. So it's actually better storytelling and better character development than Captain America Civil War particularly. Alright? Where there's not much character development going on with Captain America. Not much. In fact, very little. Alright? And there's very little going on with Bucky either. The only guy I think in that whole entire movie who's developing is Iron Man. And it's not by much, to be honest with you. So, since we're going to talk about Civil War, we're going to get into it, right? Because we can see all of that is a generic sort of costuming you're seeing in Marvel. And it's not even original, okay? And then if you look at Justice League and almost every single DCEU movie so far, the costuming has not been generic like that. It has been unique. And the literal costumes represent something. The costumes themselves tell a story. So that's a whole other level of storytelling just based on costuming. Alright? And that tells you that there was much more research into the costuming of these characters in the DCU. There's a lot more work that was put in there. Right? That's just to show you already the superior level of storytelling just based on costuming. Just based on costuming. Now I'm going to tell Steven and all the other people who think somehow Marvel movies are better than DC why Marvel movies do well and why I'm responding this way to you guys, why I am clowning you guys, and why you guys need to shut the hell up when you come up on my channel, and you should shut the hell up about the DCU period. And I'll show you how it's unfair. So the first thing you guys need to understand is the media, the press, everything is for Marvel. You don't hear nobody condemning Marvel until now. And I'm going to expose everything. So when we look at Thor Ragnarok that came out, this was the headlines we got. Thor Ragnarok is the funniest Marvel movie out there. Out of a dozen funny Marvel movies. That's what Paul Tassi had to say. From Forbes. Screen Rant. Timothy Lambert says, Thor Ragnarok critic spot calls it the boldest Marvel movie yet. This is on the verge of the movie coming out. Michael Kavanagh of the Washington Post says Thor Ragnarok is now the best reviewed Marvel movie ever. These are the kind of superlatives and hyperbole we get with these Marvel movies. Before the freaking movie could come out, this is what they kept on saying. This is the best Marvel movie yet. You think I'm joking? I'm going to show you more. Doctor Strange comes out. Forbes, Eric Kane. He says Doctor Strange is the third best movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. Danny Di Placido. Placido? You really got a name called Placido? Oh my God. Review. Spider-Man Homecoming is the best Marvel film in years. It's the shit we get. Nothing bad about these movies. Before the DCE movie could come out, Man of Steel was trashed. Then the critics trashed it. Batman v Superman, man, the hate was coming long before the movie came out. Long before it came out. They trashed it. Called it loud. Called it the worst comic book movie ever. Suicide Squad came out. Before it came out, the critics panned it. In fact, Marvel fans were saying this movie don't deserve that kind of panning. They called it a horrible movie. They called it the worst possible movie ever. 26% of the critics liked it. They said it was riddled with plot holes and it was loud and it was terrible how it was designed and had 2 intros and all that kind of stuff was going on. Meanwhile, at Marvel, the best Marvel movie yet. Wonder Woman. Before it came out, Wonder Woman has problems. Wonder Woman is we've heard rumors that it is having problems. Patty Jenkins had to come and nip that in the butt one time. Now, all the DCU movies had production problems. They always have. Now, Justice League has come out. And before Justice League could come out, gloom and doom. Justice League looks like it's going to plunge at the box office. Justice League has production problems. Joss Whedon redid all of Justice League and all kinds of lies. Reviews? Justice League is a generic film. All those Marvel films are not generic. They're the best Marvel movies ever. But Justice League was a generic film. It was meh. It was better than before, but it's meh. Better than Batman v Superman, but it's meh. But all the hyperbole for the Marvel films. So that's what sways people. And all of y'all coming up on my channel, all you Marvel fans, know it. That's why you're trying to defend right now. That's why you butt hurt when I call Thanos' head a dildo head. Because it's that's what it is. Y'all talked about how Steppenwolf's CGI was horrible. And Steven says it's because they won't focus on story. Actually, we'll see how much they will focus on story. We're going to talk about Captain America Civil War. In front of you is the ending scene of Captain America the Winter Soldier. Nick Fury at the end of the movie is talking to both Cap and Falcon at his gravesite. And he says this: "We've been data mining Hydra's files. Looks like there's a lot of rats that didn't go down with the ship." meaning that there's still some Hydra people in key positions in governance. Remember that. The premise for Captain America Civil War, according to William Ruffin, is the Sokovia Accords that split the team up. It was Cap versus Iron Man. Iron Man had had an experience with a parent who was angry with him about her son dying in Sokovia when he volunteered to help people. He was part of the collateral damage. The Avengers had just come out of causing collateral damage by accident. Scarlet Witch having blown up a building, damaging people. So that governments around the world had signed, 127 governments, the Sokovia Accords. Don't know why it's called the Sokovia Accords, but anyway. The Sokovia Accords that said that the League needed to have oversight to the United Nations. They would tell them what to do, the directives. And Iron Man was for that, and Captain America was against it. Here's the thing, though, which y'all didn't think about, which I brought it to your attention, and William Ruffin brought it to your attention, is that you can't have oversight from corrupt governments where there are Hydra agents infiltrated in, that was expressed in the movie before, The Winter Soldier, directed by the Russo brothers. So that agreeing to these accords, which neither Cap brought up nor Iron Man, would mean putting themselves under the control of some of these Hydra people in corrupt governments, even in the United Nations. That Cap should have said. He never did. It never came up because the Russo brothers probably forgot about it. They mentioned Hydra. They did. And some other agents. But they forgot what happened at the end of The Winter Soldier. Plot hole number 1. And a problem which leads to a bad premise, which leads to a unnecessary story coming out. Mind you, the Avengers took but 5 minutes, if so much, to have this discussion. It was a very important one. To give it back to Secretary Ross of the UN. And they decide, at least Iron Man decides, to sign the accords because he feels guilty of killing this boy. Irrational, but that's Iron Man, so it makes sense. Cap made more sense, but nonetheless, in their discussion, Black Widow presents that they should work along with humanity so they can trust them. But not on those terms. You wouldn't work along with humanity on those terms. There's a way to be accountable to humanity and be transparent with humanity by giving a report to people, but not have people tell you what to do when. That leads to disaster. They had it with the Winter Soldier. Why would you go back to that again? So, plot hole number 1, big plot hole, big device, which is a problem when you deal with storytelling. That's called bad writing, where you build on a premise that shouldn't even be. This shouldn't have even been debatable. While you can work along with mankind, it doesn't mean that you must be controlled completely by them. You should be accountable to them, but not controlled by them. And the question here was oversight, obviously. And so, Cap makes sense. This divide doesn't make sense. And the Sokovia Accords don't make sense. Which is why they threw the Sokovia Accords out the window, and we weren't hearing about the Sokovia Accords ever again for the rest of the movie. We heard about Sokovia, but we didn't hear about the Sokovia Accords. The other funny thing about that is, before Avengers Age of Ultron, we had the Avengers. And we had the Chitauri come down into New York City. And they wreaked havoc. They destroyed a lot of New York City. A lot of people died in New York. We never covered that, but a lot of people died in New York City. Now, I am not saying that because there was a lot of death in New York City, we should have bemoaned that, because Cap, as you can see in the bottom here, he actually talked to the police about corridoring off a great section of New York City that was under attack, getting people down into the basements of the buildings. And the policemen, after they saw, they didn't know who Cap was, after they saw Cap defending people and stuff and protecting them from aliens, they immediately started to call out and network with the people within the area to get people down into the basement of the buildings. But even so, I'm glad that Cap said that, and it was necessary for the movie. There was a lot of death and casualty. And so the fallout of that would have been people would have accused Cap and the Avengers of putting them in jeopardy and not doing more. In the real world, in a real New York City, when people are mourning their dead, which we never had the after effect of that, maybe the Accords would have come in handy then. But there was no mention of it until Age of Ultron. After Age of Ultron, Captain America, Civil War. Why? Because Batman v Superman was coming out. And they knew something about the story of Batman v Superman, so they stole that and they went to patch together a movie called Captain America Civil War, which was patched together. It's a patched together movie. Zack Snyder had 3 years to do Batman v Superman. And he took his time and he did it. Everything thought through. Good story writing. You really want to go there? Do you really? So the other point that a lot of people miss, and which makes the Sokovia Accords even more stupid, is the fact that the Avengers have been through this. A disaster with massive damage, with a lot of people dying. Now you're going to think about this dude? Nobody talked to you before that, Iron Man? Nobody? What kind of world is this? And on top of that, they handled it. And Captain America handled it. And they all handled it. Why would you give oversight now to the UN and all these other people to tell you when you are best able to handle it? That's what Cap was saying. They had a history of this. Cap's giving out orders. People are following it. And so less casualties than would have happened in that city. Okay? So I find it amazing and just incredibly stupid, and I think poor writing on the writer's part, to leave out all that experience they had and suddenly go with these Accords. It just does not sound like the Avengers after all that happened. There could have been some other concession they could have agreed on. But that Sokovia Accords makes no sense whatsoever. The next thing. And this is called lazy writing, because it's generic writing. When you have to fill yourself with cliches, and I'm talking about cliches throughout the superhero genre, it's lazy writing. Not innovative writing is lazy writing. It's innovative. It's not innovative writing, which is lazy writing. Relying on pulling people's heartstrings and emotions. And the thing with, as I said before, the MCU, especially with their pulp kind of fiction stuff that they do, is they try to pull on your heartstrings and then make you laugh afterwards. Now what has happened is, in the world where the economies have not been that great and there's been a lot of terrible things, especially Donald Trump right now, you find that a lot of people want to laugh. They want to get rid of their stress. So Marvel said, this is the solution. Hee hee ha ha, a little bit of empty drama. Empty drama that means nothing, it has no meaning. They give you empty drama and then they give you laughs after. And they've been doing it since the Avengers film, since Joss Whedon's film, where they're making jokes while the world is burning. And they're blowing up buildings and they're shooting this and they're destroying all the enemy, and the enemy's falling into the street and blowing up everything. And they're cracking jokes in the middle of that. Yes, they look like superheroes, but there's no consequence. So they tried to bring consequence here in a hodgepodge fashion in Captain America Civil War, but the story is not airtight. I'll show you what I mean. They pull on people's heartstrings. That's how they trick people. They play with your emotions. That's why I said, I'll say it again to Steven and all you guys, Marvel's fucking you in the ass with the dildo-headed Thanos. They're gonna fuck you in the ass again. You're too stupid not to understand you're being played for a jackass. You're just a sheep. You're just going with what everybody else says. Black Panther is the first movie that actually says something in a long time in all of their movies. The DCU's been speaking from day one. Day one, they've had substance. Alright. So, fuck the Accords. Nobody's talking about it anymore. It caused them to separate. So we had Captain America realizing that right now they can't talk to Iron Man about the information they get from Bucky, which is what we see up here. So Bucky up here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Alright, so here's Bucky. And Bucky got programmed like he did in the Winter Soldier by this dude right here. Zemo. Zemo got the book from another guy. He killed him. And Zemo was the head of the Sokovian kill squad, right? And Zemo gets the book from a Hydra agent. Kills a Hydra agent to get the book. He gets the book and he goes and he blows up the place. He puts a bomb outside of the UN building, blows up the place. And in so doing, he makes everybody feel it's Bucky that did it. And then he goes and he gets Bucky when they catch him. And he gives Bucky the call to activate him back to the Winter Soldier. Alright? And the Winter Soldier comes out. That attracts Captain America to find the Winter Soldier. Because at the end of Winter Soldier, Captain America is looking for Bucky. That's what he has to do. So that's why he didn't stay with Nick Fury. He said, I got to go run a mission and then I'll come back to you. And it was to find Bucky. So he's able to find Bucky. But here's the thing. He finds Bucky. He hides Bucky as much as he can. He gets away. He hides Bucky. This is after they break out. And he finds Zemo. Zemo tells them he's trying to break down an empire. Finds Bucky. And they don't deprogram Bucky. They don't speak to Bucky and deprogram him. No, Bucky, the programmer just wears off on Bucky. Which makes no sense. It wears off on Bucky, and Bucky's talking to Captain America and Falcon. And he's telling them that it seems as though Zemo was trying to get the codes for the Winter Soldier program. There are more Winter Soldiers, and they're better. There's a team that can take over the world and can just change the world. So Captain America's like, oh, damn, now I changed the whole empire. Right? That's what he means by the empire could fall. All right, cool. So he goes with Falcon and Bucky, and they're going off into Siberia to try and get to that Winter Soldier program where they think Zemo's going to try and activate those guys and take down the world. And that's how Iron Man comes across to try and stop, right? So that's basically the story. Now, the thing about it is, Iron Man gets information about Zemo, which is not under Zemo's control. So we could say, okay, Zemo brings out Bucky, makes Bucky go berserk. For some reason, he thinks Bucky's going to thaw out or something. I don't know how he knows that, but let's just say he does, somehow, some way. Which is bad writing again, but it's all good. Let's just go with it. Bucky tells them where they have to go. So Zemo, through Bucky, is able to get them to come to Siberia. But here's the weird thing. How does Zemo get Iron Man to go to Siberia? You got a big, huge plot hole. Iron Man's AI intelligence finds out that on camera that Zemo's the guy that pretended to be a doctor that came into Bucky. Iron Man finds out that, then has to do a little bit more research to find out how to get to Siberia, and that's where Captain America is. And he shows up, guess what? He shows up almost the same time as Captain America and Bucky do. So all three of them somehow managed to get to Siberia, which is not a plan of Zemo. Zemo, as much as he studied them, he says he studied them and all of that. How are he supposed to know that Iron Man would find it at that particular time? Then, when he goes to prison, find out from Falcon where Captain America and Bucky went, then get there, and get there almost the same time with Captain America and Bucky. That's just way too circumstantial evidence. And Zemo didn't have no control over that part with Iron Man. And that's called another plot hole. Okay, that's plot hole number 2. The premise is a big plot hole. The second thing is Zemo ain't got no control over Iron Man. He was counting on what? Luck for Iron Man to come there? That's plot hole number 2. This is a plot, story. And this is a traditional belated plot. So this is linear. This is not interwoven. There's no interwoven plot here. There's a problem with the linear plot. That's called bad story writing. It's built on a wrong premise, and then it's built up, and then the thing that's supposed to make Zemo this brilliant guy turns out to be a flop. It's circumstantial. That's not all. They all go there, and Zemo kills out all the Winter Soldiers. And the whole reason he wanted them to come there is because when they found out about the Winter Soldier program, they would come and all meet together. The only problem with that is you had no control over Iron Man. You had some control over Captain America and Bucky. Even though I don't even know how you figured out that Bucky's thing would have weared off. But let's just say somehow, some way you knew. That's another plot hole, by the way. You said you studied them. So here you were inside of a well-researched facility that, they couldn't do you anything. Then you spring the information on Iron Man. And Iron Man realizes, okay, Bucky killed my parents. And he tripped out. Not mad at that. Martha scene, I'm not mad at it. That scene, I'm not mad at it. It makes sense. They fight and they're fighting. Right. Zemo goes outside and he's chilling, watching everything go down now. Because remember, he's a kill squad kind of guy and he does his research on homework. He's there. Black Panther sneaks up behind him. And then Zemo starts telling his story to Black Panther. And he tells him he's sorry about his father. Black Panther says, nah, I ain't going to do no revenge. I ain't going to kill you. He said, but you going to have to answer to justice. And then Zemo takes the gun, puts it to his head. And said, not if I'm dead, or something to that effect. And he pulls the trigger. But Black Panther blocks the gun. And he says, nah. You ain't going into the world of the dead yet. The living have some unfinished business with you, right? So, in the end, Zemo gives his reasonings for doing what he did, which was he was trying to fulfill, a broken promise, a promise to his kids that they would be safe. He decided to kill the Avengers off, and he said they wouldn't come back if they fight within themselves. The problem with that is Zemo failed in getting the Avengers to fight within themselves. What really happened in the end is Iron Man and Captain America. Okay, so Captain America's still away because of the Accords, not Zemo. And Captain America's at large. But Captain America still sends Iron Man a message saying, man, whenever you need me, I'm down pat. He puts Bucky into the safe place. Zemo fails to break up the Avengers. It's the Accords that has broke them up and had kept them broken up for a stupid reason because the premise is a dumb one. Zemo has accomplished absolutely nothing. And he sits down in this place. They're holding him and they're saying, you toast. And then he says, not really. And that's how that ends. There is a disconnection between the Winter Soldier. Remember, this is a sequence. And Captain America Civil War. It's not a civil war. We all know that already. That goes without saying. Everybody agrees with that. But then in storytelling, they slap the story together. They slap Zemo. You could tell they slapped this Zemo into the story. They slapped him in response to BVS. They knew Lex Luthor was doing something. They're trying to change up their story. They changed up the story as they were going. Just like with Thor Ragnarok. You can tell they changed up things. Slapped in this. Thor has one eye coming down to the end. You hear White with TT saying that, we changed up some stuff in the last minute. And they change up stuff in the last minute with this movie as well. Just like with the TV show. And you can feel the shuddy slapstick kind of slapped in things with Zemo. It's very, 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 very cheap. Cheaply done. And while the actors give a pretty decent performance, each one of them, the story, as I show you, have holes because they slapped the story together at the last minute. So they couldn't think through everything. One guy, he pointed out in Justice League, Cyborg's story doesn't mesh. It's very murky. It doesn't mesh with the BVS Cyborg story. That's what we call bad writing. That means Joss Whedon rewrote the script for Cyborg and it came out blurry. It's supposed to have connectivity with the movie before. Similarly, Civil War is supposed to have connectivity with the Winter Soldier, and it's not that. It's a totally different situation where it should have been a continuity with the Hydra situation. And the decision making was poor on the level of the Avengers. And that's because, again, you're disproving. It's like you say, none of what we did in Winter Soldier matters. We throw that out the window. And we know it's because of last minute changes in the film. Now the lazy film writing is this. When we see the Avengers meet up, the Avengers, let me come out of this. The Avengers meet up here in the airport scene. And we had some sloppy writing. Real sloppy. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, Iron Man and his squad come up and they stop Captain America from getting into the helicopter. He shuts down the helicopter. You're in an airport. Captain America can't fly. Right? Captain America can't fly. He's looking for a plane to get out of there. Why are all of you standing like muxes talking to him? Shouldn't you be going to shut down the other planes that are there? Some of you at least. Lazy writing. You got to think about everything, right? Then the cliche-like lines while they're fighting. The jokes that they throw while they're fighting. And they say, oh man, I'm going to hit you too hard because we're going to be friends after. That kind of words to that effect. Lazy writing. I've seen it in the CW as well. That's typical stuff that people say when they fighting one another. Now, some comic book characters talk a lot and some do not. Not all of them talk a lot. It's not buddy pal while we fighting. So it's that kind of lazy writing that I can't take. And the MCU is known for that. They've been doing it even more now. They took Thor Ragnarok and they trivialized it. They took out the stakes and the tension from Thor Ragnarok by making all these jokes. Then they got Hela holding back all the time. She's like, are you the god? Which god are you again? What god are you again? Just kill the guy, man. Shuck him. Kill him. Stab him. Whatever. Thor can't die that easily anyway. She can stab him how many times she wants. It's not easy to kill Thor. You don't feel it. And that's what makes the film not an epic. You know how much these people talk about Captain America Civil War is a film that has rewatchability. They ain't no, you only gonna watch that film once. You disgusted already. You've seen everything. I haven't even watched Captain America Civil War since I last saw it. I only saw it once. And I can tell you all about the movie. Now, some people say, well, good writing is where everybody can understand the movie. It's about understanding the movie. No, actually. Good writing is when you can watch a movie and see more in it, and more in it the more you watch it. You're not fatigued after watching it once, twice, or thrice, because you got everything in it. The stuff that's in Captain America Civil War is worse than the stuff I saw in The Winter Soldier, and worse than Captain America the First Avenger. I'll tell you why. Character development. Like I said, Captain America and Captain America Civil War is the same. He's convicted of his convictions, and he goes through with his convictions no matter what. There is no character development with Captain America. Bucky has no character development either. He's been the Winter Soldier. He turned into Bucky. He calmed down. And he's been Bucky or the Winter Soldier. No character development. Deadpan. Hawkeye. No character development. Okay? Ant-Man. Just there as a cameo. Spider-Man. Just there as a cameo. Black Panther has a little character development. He's looking for revenge. Comes back 180 degrees. Decides he's not going to do any revenge. Got a little character development. Little. But it's still good. He got something going there. Iron Man. Progressively through the film is growing as a person. Yeah, you have character development there. Hawkeye, no character development. Alright, he just supports Captain America. The journey is Captain America trying to save Bucky. That's what the movie and its core is. It's not about the Accords. It's very limitedly about Sokovia. It just so happens to be mentioned. Sokovia happens to be mentioned at the end of the movie and in the middle of the movie with the Accords. That's it. This is not even about the world and their reaction to the Justice League. The Avengers. I I call them the Justice League because I cover the Justice League so much. So when it comes to character development, there's hardly any. We have a little bit with Scarlet Witch because she made a mistake. But there's not really an arc. She makes a mistake. She ends up in prison in the end helping Cap. A lot of these guys end up in prison. Alright? For helping Cap. But at the end of the day, she has a little bit of relationship with Vision. And that's the cool thing. She's saying, I need to be free. I don't want to be encapsulated. And she ends up being encapsulated. The very thing she fears, she ends up being in the movie. Right? So she has to overcome her fears, and she's still incarcerated at the end of the movie. Of course, Cap breaks them all free in the end, right? But the status of Cap is he's still part of the Avengers. All the Avengers are still together, right? Black Panther works with Cap. He crosses the lines. He has a lot of development because he helps Cap hide Bucky in the end. He's the guy that has the most development. Not even Iron Man has as much development. It's just two characters to develop in the movie. All right, everybody else that's in that movie is just there to save space. Vision has a little something with Scarlet Witch. All right, there's a little bit of development there, but that's it. And that's Captain America: Civil War. A meh film. Meh. If it was a DCU film, we'd be saying meh. It's alright. Good action, but it's meh. Because it don't got much in it. We can't discuss much in it. And this is the film that you guys say is better than Justice League. Justice League, which has, let's talk character development. The Flash has character development. He starts off being afraid, apprehensive. He embraced the Justice League. He's afraid and apprehensive to fight and help people. And he ends up helping people, coming out of the shell, coming out of the shadows. Cyborg doesn't even want to live. He's wondering what he is. Then he finds out that even though he has the potential to be a disaster, he turns out to be a potential to be good as well. Wonder Woman helps him along on his journey. Wonder Woman comes out the shadows after she's afraid to lead because she's afraid other people will die. Batman, he grows the most. He wants suicidal, has guilt trips, thinks about dying. The League has to save him. He's all about working alone, not the team. He ends up being a team player. He's convicted about bringing back Superman, and it pays off. All of that in his character arc. Then we're packing one movie. What took your guys 20 movies to see. When we look at Aquaman, he's an outcast, a loner, unaccepted everywhere, and feels he's unaccepted everywhere, and doesn't want anybody to tell him what to do. He ends up being a team player, goes back to his home world, Atlantis, and wants to give a contribution. Hope is restored to the world that was dark when Superman was gone. People were only thinking of destruction. We got the world in there. We got the world's view on things. But you say Captain America: Civil War is a better movie. Justice League, better writing, better story. Seriously, man. Seriously.